efforts by Apple to tackle a design flaw in processor chips may not be enough to thwart cybercriminals stealing passwords and other data, according to one expert. The tech firm is one of many using software updates to address the devastating Meltdown and Spectre bugs discovered by security researchers. Hackers may still find a way to bypass the patches. However, nearly all iPhones, iPads and Macs could still be vulnerable to future exploits. Similar fates may await some of the billions of people worldwide affected by the security issue, which is hardwired into chips from Intel, AMD and ARM. Desktops, laptops, servers, smartphones and tablets, as well as smart devices like baby monitors, smart cars and thermostats, can all be targeted. Security experts, including a U.S. government-sponsored group, have warned people that the only way to fully protect themselves against hackers is to completely replace their computer systems. In the meantime, incomplete fixes are being produced by tech suppliers, according to computer security experts. Ido Nair, senior security researcher at Kaspersky Labs' Global Research and Analysis team, believes the patches are still worth installing, but that they are no guarantees of indefinite protection. Speaking to Mail Online, Mr. Nair said, "I believe that the patch will fix this issue, but it is always possible for hackers to find a way around them." I don't think there's ever a 100% fix with these types of security issues. We've seen hackers in the past use vulnerabilities that have been made public to build their attacks. It's still early to say at this stage what form this will take, but I believe the first thing we will see is them developing a checker or scanner to search the internet to find out who has installed the patch and who hasn't. They will probably target those who haven't installed it first. Later on they will try and bypass the fix itself. Apple has already confirmed that almost all of its devices are affected by Intel and ARM chip design flaws that could expose billions of people's personal data to cyber criminals. The tech company has warned its customers to only download software for its platforms from trusted sources, like the App Store. Apple says it has already put measures in place to help protect its customers from Meltdown, and more will be released in the coming days. The firm plans to release further measures for its Safari web browser to help defend against Spectre. Browser makers Google, Microsoft Corporation and Mozilla Corporation's Firefox all confirmed to Reuters that the patches they currently have in place do not protect iOS users. With Safari and virtually all other popular browsers not patched, hundreds of millions of iPhone and iPad users may have no secure means of browsing the web until Apple issues its patch. Apple stressed that there were no known instances of hackers taking advantage of the flaw to date. In a written statement, Apple said, all Mac systems and iOS devices are affected, but there are no known exploits impacting customers at this time. Since exploiting many of these issues requires a malicious app to be loaded on your Mac or iOS device, we recommend downloading software only from trusted sources such as the App Store. Tech firms have been aware of the bugs since last year, with chip manufacturer Intel informed in June 2017, but the finds have only just gone public. Apple remains silent for more than a day about the fate of the hundreds of millions of users of its products. Ben Johnson, co-founder and chief strategist for cybersecurity firm Carbon Black, said the delay in updating customers about whether Apple's devices are at risk could affect Apple's drive to get more business customers to adopt its hardware. Speaking to Reuters, he said, something this severe gets the attention of all the employees and executives at a company, and when they go asking me and security people about it, and security doesn't have an answer for iPhones and iPads, it just doesn't give a whole lot of confidence. Apple Watch is not affected by the issue. Benchmark tests taken in December showed that the updates had no effect on performance, a spokesman for Cupertino-based company said. These are expected to cause system slowdowns of around 2.5%. Security researchers at Google's Project Zero computer security analysis team, in conjunction with academic and industry researchers from several countries, exposed the two flaws this week. Meltdown, which is specific to Intel chips, lets hackers bypass the hardware barrier between applications run by users and the computer's memory, potentially letting hackers read a computer's memory. It was first discovered by Project Zero in June last year, when expert Jane Horn found that passwords, encryption keys, and sensitive information open in applications that should have been protected could be accessed. A second bug, called Spectre, affects chips from Intel, AMD and ARM. This lets hackers potentially trick otherwise error-free applications into giving up secret information. Project Zero disclosed the Meltdown vulnerability not long after Intel said it's working to patch it. Intel says the average computer user won't experience significant slowdowns as it's fixed. Tech companies typically withhold details about security problems until fixes are available, so that hackers don't have a roadmap to exploit the flaws. Both Intel and Google said they were planning to disclose the issue next week, when fixes will be available. But Intel was forced to come clean about the problem yesterday after news of the flaw became public. In an interview with CNBC yesterday, Intel CEO Brian Krzanich said, "We found no instances of anybody actually executing this exploit." Phones, PCs, everything are going to have some impact, but it'll vary from product to product. However, clips on social media claim to show computer security experts using the exploit. Michael Schwartz, who has a PhD in information security, posted on Twitter using Meltdown to steal passwords in real time, along with a GIF animation of the procedure. Researchers say Apple and Microsoft have patches ready for users for desktop computers affected by Meltdown. Microsoft declined to comment and Apple did not immediately return requests for comment. Daniel Gruss, one of the researchers at Graz University of Technology who discovered Meltdown, called it probably one of the worst CPU bugs ever found in an interview with Reuters. Gruss said Meltdown was the more serious problem in the short term, but could be decisively stopped with software patches. Measures put in place so far. Intel chips from the past 5 years have been patched. More to come. The chip manufacturer says it has already issued updates for the majority of processor products introduced within the past 5 years. By the end of next week, Intel expects to have issued updates for more than 90% of processor products introduced within the past 5 years. The firm is yet to announce a timetable for patching Intel processors more than 5 years old. Reports have suggested that up to 15 years of Intel processors may be affected. On January 5, Google is issuing a security update to protect Android phones. Google-branded phones should automatically download the update, and you need to just install it. With Pixel and Pixel 2, the update will automatically install 2 dots, and Android phone manufacturers are slow to patch, so you should contact them to make sure they update it as soon as possible. The patch for Chrome will be installed on January 23, and some Chromebooks had a mitigation in XOS 63, released in December, Right Wired. If you don't want to wait until then, an experimental feature from Google called Site Isolation can help in the meantime. This feature makes it harder for malicious websites to access data from other websites you are looking at, writes Connect. To use this feature on Windows, Mac, Linux, Chrome OS or Android, copy and paste Chrome flags number enable site per process into the URL in Chrome. Click strict site isolation, and then press enable. Save your work, and then press relaunch now. A few Chromebooks are not expected to get the patch, because they are too old. Here is a full list. Look for No in the right-hand column. According to Google, no other products are affected by these vulnerabilities. Microsoft, Windows 10 patch available. Older versions to come. There is already a patch available for Windows 10 which will automatically be applied. For older operating systems, a patch will be available next week. According to the company, Azure infrastructure is updated. Reports suggest it can slow down Linux-based systems by as much as 17%. Users can opt out if they do not want it. The company says its web services have been updated. Major cloud services aimed at business customers, including Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform and Microsoft Azure, say they have already patched most of their services. Consumers should check with their device maker and operating system provider for security updates and install them as soon as possible. Spectre, the broader bug that applies to nearly all computing devices, is harder for hackers to take advantage of, but less easily patched, and will be a bigger problem in the long term, he said. Intel's CEO said Google researchers told Intel of the flaws a while ago, and that Intel had been testing fixes that device makers who use its chips will push out next week. Before the problems became public, Google on its blog said Intel and others plan to disclose the issues on January 9. Google said it informed the affected companies about the Spectre flaw on June 1, 2017 and reported the Meltdown flaw after the first flaw, but before July 28, 2017. The flaws were first reported by tech publication The Register.it also reported that the updates to fix the problems could cause Intel chips to operate 5 to 30% more slowly, with some experts claiming this could be more like 50%. Intel denied that the patches would bog down computers based on Intel chips. Intel has begun providing software and firmware updates to mitigate these exploits, the Santa Clara, California company said in a statement. Contrary to some reports, any performance impacts are workload dependent and, for the average computer user, should not be significant and will be mitigated over time. ARM spokesman Phil Hughes said that patches had already been shared with the company's partners, which include many smartphone manufacturers. This method only works if a certain type of malicious code is already running on a device, and could at worst result in small pieces of data being accessed from privileged memory, Mr. Hughes said in an email. AMD chips are also affected by at least one variant of a set of security flaws, but that it can be patched with a software update. The company said it believes there is near zero risk to AMD products at this time. Google said in a blog post that Android phones running the latest security updates are protected, as are its own Nexus and Pixel phones with the latest security updates. Gmail users do not need to take any additional action to protect themselves, but users of its Chromebooks, Chrome web browser and many of its Google Cloud services will need to install updates. Amazon Web Services, a cloud computing service used by businesses, said that most of its internet servers were already patched, and the rest were in the process of being patched. The defect affects the so-called kernel memory on Intel x86 processor chips manufactured over the past decade, the Register reported, citing unnamed programmers, allowing users of normal applications to discern the layout or content of protected areas on the chips. that could make it possible for hackers to exploit other security bugs, or, worse, expose secure information such as passwords, thus compromising individual computers, or even entire server networks. Dan Guido, chief executive of cybersecurity consulting firm Trail of Bits, said that businesses should quickly move to update vulnerable systems, saying he expects hackers to quickly develop code they can use to launch attacks that exploit the vulnerabilities. Exploits for these bugs will be added to hackers' standard toolkits, Mr. Guido said. Shares in Intel were down by 3.4% following the report, but nudged back up 1.2% to $44.70, £33, in after-hours trading. Shares in AMD were up 1% to $11.77, £8.70, shedding many of the gains they had made earlier in the day, when reports suggested its chips were not effective. It was not immediately clear whether Intel would face any significant financial liability arising from the reported flaw. The current Intel problem, if true, would likely not require CPU replacement, in our opinion. However, the situation is fluid, Hans Mosesman of Rosenblatt Securities in New York said in a note, adding it could hurt the company's reputation